It's 64 boy.
Scratch.
Dressing the culture, I'm adjusting the culture, huh? Adjusting the culture, I'm adjusting the culture, huh? Dressing the culture, I'm adjusting the culture, huh? Dressing the culture, I'm adjusting the culture. We gon' talk about it. Come adjust the culture, we gon' talk about it. Come adjust the culture, we gon' talk about it. Come adjust the culture, we gon' talk about it. Come and adjust the culture, huh?
Break, you get your boy Big Wall, and you already know the vibes, man. You know when you see my man P.stock next to me, you know what we here to do. We here to
No, it's going down. It's going down. They know it's going down.
Come on, man.
What's
you
out,
know
man?
what this is, man. We in here. You know what I'm
We
saying?
in here. Like I
What's
said,
going on with you, P?
every time we get together for a show, it's like a family reunion, man. So we can't even argue with that. The vibes are always great. But yeah, it's a great show. It's definitely going to be a topic that everybody should have a pulse on what's going on in their states and regions. We have an election coming up next month, and kudos to the city. They elected their first black mayor. I mean, you could hear crickets downtown. Crickets. I don't know how that happened, but you can hear crickets. I go by the tone of the newscasters. Okay, I watch the local news, and all they said was Ed Gainey won the mayor, and that was it. Usually after the mayor, they talking to him, they getting close things, with the politics. So it's we see the actual, like, watching the federal government, what's going on. We see it. It's like a circus, And I dabble, under the tutelage of Dr. Richard Sizemore with campaigns with Frank Wolf and everything. So we cross the aisle. We work with all the representatives and senators and Congress people in Virginia. We worked with a whole lot. Tim Kaine sponsors us and everything. So I have experience with it, and it's a tough field. But we got some info. Hopefully we can give some pointers and info with some of my knowledge that could help Brother Van out with this move he's making. It's a big step. Yeah. And I'm sure he's more than capable of handling it.
Absolutely.
It's just to me, when I look at everything, I always look at everything, in a big scope. And first thing I asked, the first thing I told you is, what did I tell you? It's 81% white people there, man. 81%. So that right there tells me that Van is no joke.
He's not.
And he's
up for the fight. Like
he's up for the fight.
He's not ducking no smoke. You know what I mean? And
no
that's
smoke
what
at all.
Impresses me about Van. Like, everything that he does at a certain level, with a certain level of prestige. And this was not something that he even wanted to do. It was a call. You know what I mean? Like so many other things in his life. But when he do it at a high level. So I expect nothing less from him, and I'm excited for him. So we're gonna bring him on. We're gonna have a dope conversation. Get to know him a little bit. He's gonna be a regular face on Address the Culture, because we're gonna ride this one all the way to the promised land. You know what I mean?
Let him definitely let him have it. Obama had Van Jones. We got Van IKNER. We're not playing around. Yeah, we're not playing around. That's what we doing. That's what we doing. And he's in it for real, and he's in it for the people. Because the fight, why else would you put up a fight with the odds being stacked against you? And that's just me looking at it from an outside perspective. He probably has a pulse on it, because he's there. This is his district. He knows the lay of the land. He knows the scenes, and that's what's in counting. if you know the pulse of the people, no matter what, black, white, Spanish, whoever you got, you can communicate with them and you can reach
Van
them.
of the people. Van of
the people. That's right.
People. Let's be
Van of the people.
You know what I'm talking about?
That's what we're talking about, and that's good. And that's a big thing. And I'm glad that he came through, addressed the culture, and to address the culture. And I can't wait. I can't wait.
So y'all already know what we're gonna do. We're gonna take us a little break, pay a few bills. You know what I'm talking about? And we're gonna be back with Van IKNER. You know what I'm talking about? And he's gonna address the culture. We're gonna get to know a little bit about him, and we're gonna do what we do, man. We'll be right back after these breaks.
Yes, sir.
You already know what it is.
Right.
Y'all got me out there. Van of the people, baby. I'm here.
Van of the people.
I'm so glad to be here. Big Wall, P.stock. I love y'all, man. Y'all chemistry is always amazing. And the intro, guys, the conversation, the dialogue, man, the genuine concern for y'all community, the way that you pour yourselves out so that you can be filled up. It's an inspiration to all of us out here just watching you week to week, man.
Man,
we really do appreciate that, man.
Yeah,
the feeling is mutual, man. You're doing some amazing things, man. And we definitely had to bring you on a platform to address the culture, man. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Come on, man. It's something that needs to be acknowledged. And what you're doing is not an easy feat.
Not at all. Not at all.
You know what I mean?
Not at all.
Yeah.
One thing that I know, man, that we've all heard, as children, that nobody said this road was going to be easy. Mm-hmm. And anything worth having in life is worth working hard for. Hard work is its own reward. In life, we just got to dig deep. Only what we do is going to last, because we got to adapt this. I don't have to do this, but I get to do this mentality. When we really talk about, if we're going to make government work, we got to participate. We don't have to do it. We get to do it. It's a privilege. It's an opportunity for us to get our conversations heard, to get our stories told, to make sure that we give, that we shine light on issues that people try and marginalize. So the only way that we can be a part of something that really is the mechanics for our society is for us to participate, for us to mobilize, for us to stop sitting on the sidelines, for us to get out of that mind frame that government don't do nothing for us. Right now, we can't afford to sit on the sidelines. We see what doing nothing get us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
December of 2016, that's the last time we saw. We did an intervention tape. And the intervention would show more detail about what was going on, how Jocelyn looked. She didn't look like herself. She looked like she had lost she weighed about 90 pounds. And Jocelyn was roughly average about 120, somewhere like that. Wow. She looked totally different. And it really tore my heart up to see my daughter look that way.
You think you've heard the truth, you think you know it all, but you haven't heard anything until you hear Tim Savage's side of the story. On the next Let's Talk with Bigg and Lizette, we sit down with Timothy Savage, Jocelyn's father, to get his side of the story. Be sure to tune in. Is there anything you want to say to your daughter?
Yeah. One thing I want to say to my daughter.
We know what you're doing is not easy, man. You know what I mean? It got to be something that you love and that you feel passionate about, and that's clear.
Right.
But you know what? I have to absolutely tell you that this was something completely unexpected for me. I hadn't had Illinois State Representative District 118 on my radar. I was given an opportunity to get involved in the race through somebody who loved me enough not to let me go. A woman named Jackie Norton has been hounding me since last year, February, just scratching at my interest. Asked me, Van, have you ever thought about doing politics? And it's amazing. that somebody else can see something in you, and we can ignore it. We can try and ignore it, but when it's a calling, God will keep that person persistent until the results that God intended for to manifest, that they manifest, that they all of a sudden they show up, and we have an opportunity to say to ourselves, I'm ready for this opportunity. Why do I keep disqualifying myself for it when somebody else is calling me and asking me about it? Lord, could this really be you telling me what to do through this other person? And God used plain ordinary people. That's the only way that we really encounter God. That we have to see God in everybody that's around us. We have to see him in people, places, and things, and understand that God is omnipotent, that it is it is something that is nurturing on the inside of us that confirms that confirms something inside of us when we're supposed to go to another level.
Yeah.
You ever felt like, man, I've been thinking about going back to school, or I've been thinking about picking up a trade? That's that unctioning of the Holy Spirit. That's something on the inside of you that's dwelling within you that's calling you to be more than what you currently are. So I jumped out of a moving vehicle. Tone Capone, you know that I work as a professional mover by trade. Every day I move 5 to 6 different families. And according to the national statistics, moving has as much stress as the death of a close loved one.
Yes.
So what I do is impactful. But being a professional mover has also kept me blue collar. It's kept me humble. It gives me a sense of completion. Every time I help another family, I actually get something that most people don't really get. You get an opportunity to complete something and say, wow, look at this. I did this from starting to finish. And I do that 5 to 6 times a day. So that completion, that sense of completion, that's something that all of us should be striving for in what we do. And I think that I've been in that moving truck. P.stock, I've been in that moving truck. Tone, I've been in that moving truck, and I made that my pulpit. I've been going around and I've been preaching and talking with folks, one person at a time, and politicking, trying to change the world. And now I realize that it's been in preparation for this great opportunity that's for me right now, man.
Yeah. That's good. And that's good for Illinois in the district, that you are blue collar, you come from that background, and then that means you're going to be able to relate to those working families. And the majority, that's what they probably are, working families. And if people, not mind you, like-minded people, if you have people that are about the bigger picture, the whole picture, about the district, about pulling together, and not about a color, and not about certain things, because what affects one community is going to affect the next, no matter what. And I lived in a lot of places, and I always seen it. So it always going to affect the other. So, and you sound like you got the pulse on it just from that. So I think they are lucky to have you willing to step out there and represent them to the state, to get stuff done, to be a voice for them, because you are them.
I am. P.stock, one thing that I really have learned in life is to give people every consideration. I don't think that sometimes we deal with one another in humility and in love. If we really want to feel like we're accomplishing something, we have to work for others like we're working unto God. That means that you work where there's no bias, there's no attitude, there's no ego, there's nothing but your willingness that fuels you and the desire to get the result that you're looking for. If you want different results, then sometimes you have to learn to do things differently. We've been operating with each other in a way that in America, in our society, we've been putting up walls between us. And people have been going into their homes, and our communities have been getting less and less connected with one another. And we don't have the same fellowship where we used to know each other. we used to live in communities where you could walk out the front door and you knew everybody on the block. And especially in the Black communities, I think that the way that we regain our identities and that we reassert ourselves, reassert our family values is only through the development of us leaning in and loving on each other and really rebuilding the infrastructure of the Black family. We have to get back to mama, father, get back to brother and sister, get back to that family-oriented idea. Brother Martin Luther King, when he talked about our white brothers and sisters, he always made the contrast when he talked about any other race, that he always attached a family designation to it. It was always our brothers and sisters, our family members. And we don't hold each other in that regard enough. We have to completely change the dialogue. Things have gotten so partisan between us that people actually write each other off if they deem that you're a Republican or that you're a Democrat. I live in Illinois. It's a blue state, right? We live in a blue state. Overall, when you look at the electoral map, Illinois comes up as blue. But most of the people around me, they vote red. So when you put red and blue together, it means that we all got Purple Hearts. I don't think anybody is more liberal or more conservative than anybody else. We just buy into this system of wanting to label everything. We create these disputable matters between each other just by saying, oh, he's a liberal. But think about the word liberal is really like the word liberate, which means to free, right? But if you think about somebody that's conservative and you say they're conservative, you mean that they want to conserve something. So they want to save something. Those aren't bad characteristics on either part, whether you want to liberate and free somebody or if you want to be conservative and save somebody. I think that we all trying to do the right thing. You know?
That's a great way to look at it, you know, and to visual it, because I've never really heard it put that way, being involved. So you know, that's a huge way to put it for that district, even though right now the mainstream politics that everybody see when they turn on the 6 o'clock news shapes everything.
It does.
You know,
the ideas, the thoughts, everything.
The ideals, the thoughts, because as African Americans or Black people, we're naturally the most conservative group in this country, for real.
Absolutely.
So that's by nature, we're conservative. Okay, so whenever you see conservatives, you know, and both parties, and I can't say that, but both parties, you see it. They come around the communities around election time, get votes, and then nothing gets done.
Come on.
Yeah, and let me just get in here because I kind of want to keep the narrative going, because we really want people to understand who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And understand your passion and the love you have for the community. So with that being said, let's start it from the top. You know what I mean? Because we got you here. You know what I'm saying? We ain't ducking no smoke. Absolutely. We finna get to know Van of the people. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So with that being said, for the people who might not know who you are, let us know who Van IKNER is, the man, the leader, the future state representative, just as a whole. Let us know who you are and where you come from, brother.
You know, the blessing is that I'd like to tell the people, my name is Van IKNER. That's V-A-N, last name I-K-N-E-R. I'm 47 years old, born and raised in the Chicagoland area. I came to the Carbondale area back in 1992 to attend SIU, where I had the biggest plans in the world to come down here and shape and change the world. I wanted to be this elementary school teacher that was going to somehow get into politics and turn around and perhaps one day when I became 35 years old, I was going to run for a presidency. I've got an article that was written that sort of chronicled that ideal that when I graduated from Bloom Township, my principal, Frank Nardi, had recognized me in the local paper. And it was an amazing accomplishment to look at a young Black man who was graduating 43rd out of a class of 313 that has a 3.5 grade point average, that I won the American Legion Award. I was captain of. I was the president of senior class. I turned the tassels on the stage. You know, this is the young man that was a singer that raised by his single mother, raising 3 children, growing up in the neighborhood where his brother had been involved heavily in the gangs, and my big brother Virgil was the governor of the Gangster Disciples in our community. But he kept me and my twin brother out of those gangs, wanting us to have that chance to get down to college and to be able to be the entertainers and just not have to grow up under the same stigma that he had grown up under. But as we got away from the hood, you know, and we went down to college, you can take the city boy out of the city, but it's hard to take the city out of the boy, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, so when we got to college, man, it was the first time, and we were first generational students, man. We were first time getting away from the crib. I'm an identical twin brother, you know, and we were popular. So when we got down here, it was something magical, man. It was like we had gotten off the grid. I never thought I was gonna live to be 18 years old when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I was one of those kids that was laying in the window of Vista Gardens, and all of a sudden a bullet came through the window and it hit me right in my chin. You know, when I was little, my big brother was playing with a 22, and he was only 14 years old, and he was only 7 years older than me and my twin brother. And it misfired, and he shot me in my leg riding a green machine big wheel. So, you know, this was stuff that happened in our neighborhood, that happened in our community.
And it was normal. We normalized.
And it was normal. It was normal. It was normal. I idolized my big brother, you know, because he was the kind of man that had the kind of clout in my neighborhood that could keep the flies off of us. You know, when they would see me and my twin brother, they would in Summit, they would always say, "Oh, here come Virgil's brothers, man. Here come V-Dog brothers. Oh man, wait, hey, everybody back off, man." And we had that kind of clout. We played basketball. You know, we were good looking, we were charming, we were singing, and you know, it seemed like we had the world on the string. We was hood rich. You know, we was on public aid, food stamps, and Section 8. You know, but shoot, in our neighborhood, man, it felt like we was on the top of the world. You know? And a lot of people don't understand that. So when you come from where I come from, and things, and it's the norm to live in a community where we were bombarded with Black exploitation film. You know, we went from literally in the 70s, and our community switched up on us. At P.stock and Tone, I know y'all know what it's like. I was born in 74. So from 74 until 80, you know, when I was 6 years old, the neighborhood was really kind of cool. You know, it was a lot of folks that had migrated from down south that had moved just freshly in the Chicagoland area. They were coming up there for fresh opportunities. All the factories was hiring, and we still had communities that across the railroad tracks, out for our residential living, they still had their country ways. You could go under the tracks, you can go over the tracks, climb up on the other side, and we would have fields that was tilled that would have cabbage and greens and tomatoes and onions and fruit trees and all this other stuff. And this was in the city. But this was before we had all of the programs and all of the powdered cheese. I mean, the powdered milk and the cheese from Cedar, you know. So what was really awesome about it was that our childhood was full of being outdoors and learning from people in our community. We could walk out the door and literally get an education every time we walked out the front door. When you walked out the door, Mr. James or Miss Ada or somebody taught you something. You would learn how to roof. You would learn how to change tires, do oil changes. You would swing from a tire swing. You would jump the railroad tracks. It was just
a village.
You know?
It was a village.
The village.
You know. So, but what happened to all our communities, to all the city boys? Crack cocaine came and moved in, man.
Crack cocaine and the gangs.
And it changed the game. I remember the transition where we started losing heroes in our community that had done the cookouts and been down at the basketball courts with you, or that they We even had some old heads that used to go and cop liquor for you. You know, when you was a kid, and, oh man,
That's
oh,
a
you
fact.
in high school now. You know,
That's a
tell
fact.
you, man, give me a couple dollars, man. I'll run on over here and go grab you something, you know. So that sense of community, though, it made us all feel safe. We all knew each other. And then when crack cocaine came in, it destroyed that. It destroyed the character of the man that was in our community. All of a sudden, in tangent with the crack cocaine epidemic that we had going on, we had to also deal with gentrification. We was dealing with people that had migrated from down south and moved up north, and we had property and had buildings, brownstones, buildings that we lived in, that the government was coming in and buying up our communities and giving our mothers and fathers and our grandmothers and grandfathers, giving them Section 8 vouchers or giving them $5,000 cash. What was really sad, it was a lot of people, it was a double-edged sword. If you took the $5,000, it was never enough. If you was out of it before the end of the year trying to pay rent somewhere. But if you took the Section 8 voucher, you know, like my mother had to, like she chose to, you were stuck jumping through hoop after hoop when it came time to renew your voucher. And if you had any assistance, you couldn't have a man in your house. And I really think that played a big part in growing up and affecting the how we all turn out as young Black men and how we turned out as young Black women. Our relationships, the dynamic of the family changed in such a way that once they destroyed the Black family as a unit and separated us, we then got into a habit of not voting anymore. There was nobody to really lead that charge, to really keep us involved, to really keep us informed. And those that did, they were, I hate to say it, that they actually bought into a system where their voices got so quiet that they became non-existent and ineffective in our community.
It's funny that you said that about the voting aspect and that they stopped voting. You know what I mean? And like P said, in the district that you're running for, the 118th district, it's what, 87% white?
81%.
81% white. So it, you know, like I said, it has to be a love and it has to be a passion. So,
but you know what? We have to realize this. That 81% is reflective of the voting pool. It is actual people who vote. 81% of the people that vote in our elections in this neck of the woods are white folks. But guess what? It's a whole lot of us that are not participating, that we can change that. We can affect that percentage in such a way. We can actively mobilize and begin to participate in this system and really create something special, platform where they have to listen to our needs, where they have to listen to our stories, and where people have to understand. And when I say our, I'm talking more about an economic status, because a lot of us are not separated by anything other than we're separated more by finances and economics, by dollar bills, than we are by being black, white, yellow, or red. You know, it does.
Absolutely.
You tell me when you really get down to what really is on the table, it always comes down between the haves and the have-nots.
That's a fact.
And in that district, I would say there are more white people that are have-nots than black people.
Yes.
You know, and that's the way it is, and most of the communities like that, you know, that are outside of the urban centers. Okay, and you hit it on the head when you was talking about that time frame from 74 to 80. That was Jimmy Carter's range, and everybody, money was flowing. Jimmy Carter had money flowing. Like you said, education, you go out the door. They used to pay you minimum wage to get your GED.
Come on.
You know, and then you can go right to training and school and everything else for people that couldn't hack being in school. So those things was going on, but they didn't like that because a lot of black people were coming up. Poor people were coming up. You know, they was able to move. Not, you know, let's make it clear, poor people was coming up.
Yeah.
And what happened is Ronald Reagan, you know, and people glorify Ronald Reagan, and he sold them out to corporations.
Yeah.
He sold the people out to corporations. His presidency, you know, it's been documented by the filmmaker Michael Moore in a video, you know, so they can't deny it. It's right there, but they'll deny it, but it's right there, you know. So, but that's what changed it, and that's what changed. And then the crack epidemic that came that followed that, you know, after
killed the whole generation. Crack destroyed a whole generation.
It destroyed, and that's what happened to the family unit. They was already breaking it down after Martin Luther King, okay, because you know, when the civil rights movement was going, instead of a lot of the sisters, the women, staying with their men and going for the civil rights, they went with the Women's Lib group. You know, we can get you that voucher. We can get you that money. You don't need no man. You know, so that's where that split came from, and that's what happened to the family unit. You know, so it's a combination of all those things, and it's by design. Me and Big Wall talked about it. It was all by design to keep that going, and to keep that, and to demonize black men from then on out.
It's psychological warfare. You know,
big time.
It's an amazing thing that we all have basic needs.
Yes.
And if you make somebody believe that you're going to make sure that their basics are taken care of, that's a level of security that all of us hope to attain.
Exactly.
So dangling that carrot in front of our people was manipulative. But we've been falling for these tricks for so long that we have fallen into a trap of commodifying things that are intangible. You know, we make everything about money. And what does the Bible tell us? That it's the love of money that's the root of all evil. Even every mistake, every trap that we step in is usually motivated by the pursuit of the dollar bill. We're chasing money. We're chasing a level of security in order to check that box. We're trying to get our basics covered. Yeah. And for some of us, we unfortunately are we're products of our environment. We grow up in environments where things are socially acceptable that have been propagated throughout our communities that would never be tolerated in other communities. Everything from our music, from the type of food that we eat, from the images that are depicted of us on film and television, and even in the books that we read.
And they take from us. And they make money off of it, and don't break down. Basically, when you look at it in those terms, you know, they'll come because they can afford. You have an ideal or a niche, and they'll come in and they give you a couple of dollars, which is more money than you've ever seen in your life.
Come on.
And then they're running with the bag up the street, and then, like you said, within 5 years, you're trying to figure out, you know, how you're gonna pay this rent, this mortgage, this whatever.
And you know, like I know, that we got to get away. That sounds like politics as usual. In order for us to change the narrative, we got to really be able to suspend our disbelief and come back to the table and be objective and stay in the now and the how. I believe in us being accountable for what has happened to us in the past. I don't believe in whitewashing history. I don't believe in canceling the woke agenda. I don't believe in saying that black lives don't matter, you know, and that all lives matter. People try and put all these different labels on things so that you can create this idea of separation between us. But we're all saying the same thing. And it's to the glory of God for us to overlook an offense. We got to stop being so offended by each other and start really appreciating each other for the idea of us being able to do more today than we've ever been possible, than's ever been possible. We all come from that same generation where we were talking about earlier, where the encyclopedia man used to come and knock on the door. We're no longer waiting for information to come and knock on the door. We got it in our hands. We are 500 times smarter than any Homo sapien that's ever been on the planet. We're more connected. We have more information available to us. We just have to have the proper application of the information that we have available to us in order to really change the dialogue. Black folks, we come in all different shades, everything from light skin all the way to dark skin, but we love on each other. There's no difference in between us when we think about the shading of our skin. We've had instances where we watched movies like The Imitation of Life, but in our communities, it's often reflected that we laugh and joke with each other about being light skinned and dark skinned, but the love that is between us as a people is undeniable. It's undeniable, and we love on everybody around us. We do have respect for our elders. You know, we are a generation of people that has a lot to be accountable to one another for, because we overcame so much. So when you overcome the odds that we've already overcome as people, we have to come back to the table, and we have to look at where we are right now as a society, as a community, where our children are, where are we at in our needs for our health care, where are we at in our needs for our educational and trade, and our ability to teach trades in our community. All of these things have to contribute to us becoming better. And all of us gonna have to get better mentally, physically, and spiritually. And we're gonna have to move on one accord, or we're gonna lose. We're gonna lose everything we have of value. We're gonna continue to lose our respect and reverence for our elders. We're gonna continue to have a community that tolerates vulgarness in our music, and we're gonna stop attaining degrees and excelling in the sciences and in mathematics. We have to promote to our children that we've got more occupational opportunities out there than being basketball players, than being
football players, rappers,
artists, or desiring to be on stage. All of those things are worthwhile goals, but think about the things that we're leaving on the table.
Man, bro, you talking it, man, and you dropping so many jewels and knowledge that we need to pick up, and that's what we're gonna do, man. So we're gonna take us a small break, and we're gonna pay a few bills, man, and we're gonna be right back with Van IKNER, your future state representative. We'll be back.
Van for the people.
Van for the people. We'll be back right back after these commercial breaks.
What we see happening not only to my great-grandmother's cemetery, Pu'uiki, Wailua, North Shore, but it seems to be happening all over the island and all the other islands too.
This TV plant, that's the marker of my 6th great-grandmother that was buried there.
Well, I am running for governor for the state of Hawaii, and it's because of these things, these type of things. Kauikeauli Kamehameha III, he took the American law and he did the greatest thing he did with us. He threw in the biggest wedge he could, and that was our blood, and we call it koko, our blood, And what he did was he took his sovereignty and put it into the people. So now the land and the government belongs to the people.
Alluded 19. Thank you.
19. There you go, man.
Fearless. She's fearless. She's not only a silence breaker, she's an author 2 times. She's funny as hell, and she's just a real one.
There was a part of the story when I talked about coming back from Dallas, him picking me up from the airport, and how he beat me in the back seat of the vehicle. And in the headline on one of the blogs, it's very popular, I'm not going to name, it said, R. Kelly ex-girlfriend says that he kicked her in the back seat of his car and said, "Bitch, stay out of my business."
Okay, so I'm a girl, so I'm going to ask a girl question.
All right.
What are you looking for in a partner? First thing that comes to your mind.
First thing that came to my mind, Girth.
And in the culture, man, we just need something, different tools to kind of help you kind of make it through these stressful times.
Hello, this is Professor Allen from the School of Lifestyle, and today's topic is about prison of your mind. It's like I'm 48 years old, but yet I have the best time of my life for the past 2 years, ever since I got a stroke, by eliminating the negative stuff and then put in the positivity in life. As in right now, for example, my body, our body, this is just body, but the mind is much more powerful than the body. Get rid of your emotions. Do not connect with your feelings, because emotions will get you. The mind is the controller of your body. And let me ask you guys this. Where's your heart?
All right.
We are back here to address the culture. And we got the one and only, we got Van IKNER in the building.
Van IKNER.
Addressing the culture. You know what I'm talking about? Now, we all know, man, this is something that was calling for you. It was something that you really didn't want to do. So why are you choosing to represent the people of Southern Illinois?
Well, my reasons are twofold. First of all, I found out that we don't have a dog in the fight right now. There is a Republican incumbent that is currently in a primary against another opponent on the Republican ticket. But if we didn't take this opportunity, to take this write-in opportunity to get on the ballot, the Democratic side and the independents wouldn't have somebody that they could support in the race at all. When the primary comes up June 28th and the incumbent is running against his primary challenger, if we don't get on the ballot, then that means that the incumbent or the challenger would be the winner at large for the Illinois State Representative District 118 race. In order to make this race a real race, don't you need to have somebody participating in the race that you want to see help advance your issues, your concerns? That's why I'm running. I'm running because we didn't have anybody in there. And not having anybody in there is unacceptable, especially when the calling is so high. The opportunity for us to finally get some representation in Southern Illinois is here. The maps after 10 years, they've been they've had to redo the maps, and we have a new district here in Southern Illinois that's ideal for us to win. It has been carved out. Well, the 81% that we were facing with the people that have voted, that the face of that electoral college is now going to look different. The canvas of that map is different because now we actually have areas that are loaded with folks that are black, brown, and white, and yellow, and that have democratic values and that have liberal values that need to be addressed in the community. We have
a voice.
Our counterparts that are presenting an argument for us to be tougher on crime and for us to cancel out some programs that we really need in place in order for us to decriminalize being poor. You know, we got some folks out here that are really suffering at the hands of being over-ticketed, overtaxed, and having really no say about any of it.
Yeah. That is so true with a lot of districts around, and yours, you know, I mean, they're lucky to have you, and it's for all the right reasons. They need a voice. Absolutely. So you're going to be that voice. So it could be surprising. And now I'm all in now. Wall bought me all in, so I'll be watching closely, and we're going to be participating, trying to, you know,
absolutely
make whatever happen. But you know, because it's good, and you're right. You know, those people need a voice. We know how the other side role. You know, they've been in there. They're not even. They don't even help their own. You know, for most cases, their own to a point of the people with the bucks. That's who they serve.
Yeah.
The people with the bucks, and a lot of time with politics, you know, you hear about it in the federal level, again, the national level, where they talk about the dirty money and the black money and everything they want to take out of it, how they do the move. But that was what all Reagan started. You know, that was all again with the start with Reagan coming in there. So it is going to be a fight, and I think they need you. You know, I think that the topics you talk, because I'm not sure, and you probably know more of this than this because you hear a lot, like here in Pennsylvania for the governor's election, they're throwing that CRT out there, that critical race theory out there, and they don't even have it in their curriculum.
Yeah.
You know, they need it probably,
right?
But
you know what? What's a shame is that we live in a time and an era where none of us were responsible for any of those atrocities, and we ought to be able to have dialogue about it. One thing my mama always said, and that she always says, is that if it's the truth, you can say it. Do we really want to ignore the ugly things because they're ugly? Do we really want to take something as valuable as being able to learn from the lessons of slavery, being able to learn from the lessons of, warring, making this a police state and making turning America into a prison nation? Do we not want to unlearn some of those things that really are blights on all of us as Americans? I think that we all understand that none of us have a time machine to go back and change any of the things that have happened. But we can focus on the now, and we can focus on the how, and we can really move our human agenda forward. We can stop all this partisan stuff. We can stop dealing with all of this disputable stuff that's in our head, all of this position, all of this perspective stuff. And we got to start getting back to what makes heart sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think people need to be known that the enemy is not the other man. You know, it's that man all the time. It's the corporation. It's that machine that wants that dollar at no cost.
Well, we've been the blind leading the blind so long.
Yeah.
In psychology, they have what they call Pavlov's bell.
Yeah.
Where they talk about response and stimuli. Every time you ring the bell, what we do, we answer it. Every time your phone rings, you answer it. Every time the text message, every time the ding go off, we answer it. We answer that alarm clock go off. We get in line. We get up to get ready for work. We go clock in somewhere. It's always that stimulus. It's that response and stimuli. We've got so much to unlearn. This sounds foolish to a lot of people, but I said, as human beings, we are the only creature on the planet that depends on currency. Everything else, nothing else depends on currency. Nothing. And we're supposed to be the smart ones. How can we make healthcare about currency? How can we make education about currency? How can we make taking care of our elders about currency?
They shouldn't.
How can we make taking care of children who can't take care or defend themselves? How can we make that about currency? We know the right things to do, but we withhold it because of this idea that we have this budget that we have to adhere to. The things that we really need to budget are intangible. These things, they're priceless. The things that we're budgeting, there are things that we should afford ourselves, that we should really take care of ourselves as a community. We would actually create more revenue and free up more opportunities if we gave everybody great starts.
Van, you said something about taking care of the community, and I kind of want to tap into that. With so much gun violence going on in the country, and so many people losing their lives, so many people are wounded. It's so much going on when we talk about gun violence in the country. What's your stance when we talk about the Second Amendment of right, giving American citizens the right to bear arms, knowing all the gun violence. And I'm also aware that you was a victim of gun violence yourself. So can you kind of tap into that story as well and just your whole viewpoint when we talk about gun violence?
You know, I'm glad you brought it up because it really, my situation is very unique. And it should really give other people a different perspective about maybe their own positions on gun violence. I happen to also have the designation of being an ex-marijuana felon, so I don't have the right to bear a firearm. But I believe in the Second Amendment right. I'm a nonviolent offender, and I believe that gun laws need to be more responsible. And we definitely have created this OK Corral society, and we have to begin to de-escalate our engagement and our fascination with firearms, because we are literally killing one another. We are killing each other. If I wish that we were responsible enough never to turn and use a firearm on another human being at all. But we have made this our way of diplomacy. Diplomacy no longer is something that's on the table. It's the person with the biggest firearm, with the biggest arsenal that wins the argument. You know, how are we going to promote a community of love, peace, kindness, and understanding if we keep showing up at the door with a gun on our hip and we keep trying to figure out how to control you rather than have dialogue with you?
I don't think it works. I don't think it works.
It can't work because of two things. It can't, because the government is showing, and not only our government, the world, like what's going on in Ukraine right now, for example. Putin is holding the rest of everybody else hostage. I'll start a nuclear belt. I'm just letting you know, I'll push this button right here. So people don't want it. But sooner or later, because that's the mind of those warring minds that they have. That's what they, where they came from. And what it is people see that and they would translate that to local.
Yeah.
It's outside of seeing the movies, history and stuff. People are, watch movies and they emulate it. They see it and they go out and do it and they try it. But most of the movies are emulated by stuff that really happened. And then they take a piece of it. So the stuff's already going on. But that's the big part that I think of with the guns and gun control. I'm with you. I think people have a right to bear arms if they want, because if you took all the guns off of the people, who's going to protect us from the government? Who's going to protect us from the cops? Even though the military said they couldn't, commit action against the people, but how long would that last?
I'm prayerful that as people as a whole, Americans and citizens of the world, that we just put the guns down. I wish that we didn't live in a world that I wish we didn't live in a world where we all had to have our guard up.
Yes.
But it's unrealistic. We have been fighting with each other so long. We've been fighting with each other so long. We got so used to holding our fists closed and clenching it that I don't even think we can pry our fist open.
Not if we wanted to. Not if we wanted to. This country and this world was built on violence. You know what I mean? And that's why I don't understand why it's so strict. Certain crimes I understand, you know what I mean? But it's certain things, like you spoke about it earlier, that you have a felony for marijuana. Yeah, and you did some prison time. Kind of speak on that. And like now, when you think about it, marijuana is legal.
That should be all getting expunged and thrown out.
You see what I'm saying? And it's so many brothers and sisters, and we're not just talking about a black or white issue. We just talk about people who are in the penitentiary now with heavy jail sentences over marijuana. You know what I mean? So can you kind of speak about your whole experience and when we talk about harsh sentences and your marijuana and the time that you spent when you was in prison?
One thing for me, I grew up in basically a marijuana kind of family. My big brother was my mentor and my guide, and the person that sort of gave me the game, as we say in the neighborhood, and you know, holding him on a pedestal and really following this larger than life image, and having him sow these seeds in our lives of this being the answer to, you know, this is how you get money. This is how you impact your situation. If you got dreams, you're not gonna get financing from a bank. You're gonna have to bankroll yourself. Selling marijuana was a means to an end for us and my family. So it was something that became second nature. I can remember the penitentiary chances I took, jumping on and off the road and jumping on buses, planes, and automobiles, all for the you know, the goal of advancing an entertainment company. You know, when I think back at it and I look at it, you know, I say to myself that youth is wasted on the young. If I knew now what I knew then, I mean, if I knew, that's how we said it. If I knew now what I knew then, you know, mercy, man. I mean, if I knew then what I know now, things would have been much different.
Yeah.
But experience. Here's something I want to say to the kids. Trouble don't never look like trouble. It never do. Trouble don't look like trouble until it's actual trouble.
Until you're in it, you know what I'm saying?
Until you're in it. And trouble easy to get into.
Hard
and it's hard to
get out. Yeah.
I've been talking about this for a lifetime, man. This happened I sold marijuana between 1994 and 1999. The federal government said that it was a conspiracy to distribute over 4,200 kilos of marijuana. But it started from my big brother who gave me the game. He got caught on the road in Arizona with 4 other people in a vehicle. The federal government gave him 176 pounds of weed and put him on a plane and brought him all the way from Arizona back to Southern Illinois. And when he got to Southern Illinois, they had wired him up, took him over to somebody else's house who got wind that he had been busted. And my big brother was then forced to find somebody else to bring the marijuana to, and he brought the marijuana to my house. They never had any buys. They never had any sales against me. They used my big brother as a Trojan horse, and I understand why he did it. He was already a 2-time convicted felon that had type 1 juvenile diabetes, and he had a heart condition, and he had multiple children, and he was under so much pressure, he actually thought I was going to fold when the federal agents came in and kicked my door in. When they kicked my door in, I did what my big brother told me to do. I sat down and I told the federal agents, can you please take me to my cell? My big brother told me if the police ever kicked in the door, he said, man, ask them to take you to your cell and wait for your attorney to show up. But when I shut up, I got arrested, taken to Jackson County here in Southern Illinois. And when they took me to the county, I was looking around and I was searching, where's my big brother at? Because when they kicked my door in, they brought him in. They set him at my table too. And he was sitting there. And when we got walked out of the house in handcuffs, he was behind me. They put him in the car. You know, but when I got to Jackson County, I was there by myself. And all of a sudden I had the realization that it was my big brother that had set me up. My big brother. My big brother walked him right in the front door, and he was hoping
it just shows your heart and your compassion, because even in this story, you spoke before you got to it. You said, it's not my brother's fault. He was under so much pressure. It was X, Y, Z that led him to make these decisions. And from you have a mind state that most people won't have. You know, and our culture is no love for snitches or put them in the kitchen. You know, all that nonsense that don't make no sense. And you are here in this moment saying I understand why my brother did what he did. Now, for me, that's somebody that I want to represent me. That's somebody. Those are the intangible things that we have a lack in our representation. So shout out to you for just having that sense of maturity.
Yeah,
because most would.
So
You know what I mean?
They wouldn't. You know, because your brother, I understand, he did it to protect y'all in the long run. For real, for real.
He did.
For real, for real.
My big brother thought that I was gonna validate the decision that he had made. When I found out after I was arrested that not only did it free my big brother, but it freed the 4 other people that were on the road with him also.
Yeah.
So I understood it was a heavy trade, and by the grace of God, let me tell you how my big brother felt so guilty that even though he had been able to go home, his consciousness was eating him up so bad. I was arrested in September of 2000. It was right after I hadn't gotten married. Which was added insult to injury. I just had felt like my life was completely thrown off track by this moment. My big brother passed away last year. So I hesitate sometimes to say anything derogatively against my big brother because I love him so much and I honor his memory because he is the big brother I mentioned to you earlier that kept me and my twin from being involved in the gangs. He was a young man that when he got in trouble young, his father died early. My mother was a teenage. My mother was only 15 when she had him, so I understand the dynamics from under which he was raised. And my big brother only wanted to help us, and it's just messed up to me how I think we need to reach our community how this idea is okay in our communities. We accept it because we feel like we're products of this environment. And that's why I'm so glad that with my own children, I get to break generational curses. You know, as the father of 4 boys and 1 girl, you know, the blessing is watching my older children, my 3 older children go to college. 1 get a degree and go on to teach. You know, my other son, Ray John, is an outspoken activist and a radio host and personality and really a person that wants to change the world. They have great relationships with their significant others. They're engaged to be married. My son, Ajan, is the starting catcher for the Manor Blue Jays at 19 years old. And it's got my cup running over. My 2 youngest are 14 and 13 years old, and they are really beautiful and wonderful human beings. You know, my 14-year-old plays 3 sports. My daughter plays 3 sports and dances, and we try and keep them active. But a lot of people in our community, they don't have that type of support system that my wife and I have been able to form. Because through all of this, through everything that has gone on, my wife has been my greatest support system. When we got married in 2000, and May 27, 2000, and when I wound up getting arrested September of 2000, we had only had a few months of happiness together as husband and wife. Although we had dated for years, our marriage started off on a horrible footing. When I got incarcerated, I told my wife, I said, baby, I don't know how much time I'm gonna get. I don't even know if you should stay around. But my wife stayed. And we prayed together and we leaned in. And it doesn't mean that bad things didn't happen in our relationship. We experienced it all through incarceration. It was the most humiliating thing that anybody that is a nonviolent offender can go through in life. To be stripped of your freedom, to have to be strip searched when your loved ones come and visit you, to have to stand and be counted, to have to deuce it up, pair it up and walk it, to have to shout your number out at roll call when the officers and the COs come in, but that situation didn't make me bitter. It made me better. And and I was a person that during my incarceration, I had to battle. I fought that first case of 176 pounds. I fought it, and what was great is that we won. We actually won. We fought. We had a jury of our peers. A jury of my peers found me not guilty in 2000, and I went home on my wife's birthday on December 15th. I went home, but I went home broken. I went home. I went home under a capacity that my wife and I had just gotten married. We had bought a house. I was behind on a house note. The person that had the house note on us was on me about the rent. You need to get it paid right away. There was no way to pay it. So what does somebody foolish do? You return what you know. You go back to what you know. You return to your vomit. And I didn't want to. My wife begged me not to get on the road. It wasn't but a few months later that after I was found not guilty, I found myself getting phone calls from people saying, "Hey man, you did great, man. You stood up. You was a G, man. You handled that case and you came out not guilty. Oh man, hey, let me help you out." Man, that was the worst thing that I could do, was to let myself return back to that mess. I had an instance where the people actually had to have me come to the neighborhood and pick up 5 pounds of weed on President's Weekend. And I was traveling back home on I-57, coming south on 57, back to the Carbondale area. And I was stopped on the road by a Mount Vernon state trooper. And I wound up feeling the same shame, the same embarrassment, the same hurt, trying to plug that hole, trying to fill that gap, trying to pay the rent, trying to get my respect back, trying to show them that you didn't take nothing from me, trying to get that back, that misguided idea of pride, that sense of defeat that had overwhelmed me, that desire to get it back, that wanted to take a shortcut to get it back fast. And all it did was bring me more trouble. It brought me more trouble, and I wound up that time not getting the not guilty bill. I was at a point where I didn't even want to fight. When Mount Vernon and Jefferson County, when it came to me and said, "Mr. IKNER, we're going to give you 8 years," I jumped right in line for that 8 years. I said, because I had already faced down 2 super class X felonies that my big brother tried to put on me. I was going to lose 60 to 90 years of my life on that first case. And I stood up for myself. But this time I was caught red-handed, and I knew that I was going to get some time. And at that point, I felt like I wasn't arrested. I felt like I was rescued. I felt like God had given me a chance to get out of that lifestyle, and He came back around and He said, "Oh, you thought that I was going to let you go back to this? You thought that this is what I had planned for your life?" He had so much more planned for me. But even when I got arrested, when I wound up going to Mount Vernon, I got the 8 years worth of time, and I went and I was sentenced. I was shipped to Menard, and I began my sentence. And as I began doing my time, I put myself in a position to go through drug treatment, to not so much treat myself for marijuana addiction, but to treat myself to the marijuana lifestyle addiction. I was addicted to the lifestyle. I was a guy that had taken too many chances, jumped on the road too much, and wound up in the penitentiary. And in the institution, they always tell you, you're either going to find 3 things: jail's institution, or death.
Yeah.
And I was bucking for it. And I found myself having gone through that drug program, and I really started making use of my time. I taught GED to inmates that needed to get their high school diplomas. I helped them get through those programs. And I also took as many college programs as I possibly could in order to put myself in a position to come back home and better my own life. It was there I got my food safety and sanitation license that prepared me to come home to the glass house. When I came home to the glass house, I went right out and I got a job at the local Burger King. You might say that I went from Kingpin to Burger King.
Burger King.
And when I went to Burger King, they hired me on as the guy that scrubbed the sidewalks. And I scrubbed the sidewalks until one day I had got an opportunity to move up and become the assistant manager, and not only become the assistant manager, but become the general manager at that same store. And when I came back home with the intentions of being home and staying home and doing everything right. But the federal government wasn't done with me. A week before my out date, I was 7 days in a wake up from going home. I had a new son with my wife. I had been home over 2.5 years and working. And 7 days in a wake up from spending my last day at the work release center, the CEOs came up to Burger King and they asked me to step from behind the counter. They said, "Ike, we hate to do this to you, but we need you to come and go with us." I went back to the center that evening, and Yolanda Harrington was there. She had was standing behind the desk, and she was a student. She was the supervisor, along with another gentleman named Howard. And they said to me, "Ike, we're sorry to do this to you. You worked so hard to get back home, to get in rotation, to you taking your time." And when it spoke to at-risk youth at the Spectrum Wilderness Program out of the Touch of Nature, and really tried to impact other people's lives as I came home. And they came and they spoke on my behalf 7 days later when I was arraigned. After I was taken back to Menard where the journey started. And then I had to finish up 7 days. 7 days later, the federal marshal showed up and they took me into custody, and they took me to Benton, Illinois, where I was remanded in custody, and I saw Judge Philip Gilbert. Judge Philip Gilbert heard about me coming in for arraignment. He looked at the prosecution and he told the prosecuting attorney, he said, "This young man has been home for almost over 2 years, had another child, worked his way up from the porter to a position of general manager at his company." He says, I'm not going to, I said, "Mr. Ogden, I can't send you, I said, I can't make this case go away, but I can send you home on an I bond on your own recognizances." And he let me go home with my family and with my newborn. And he allowed me to fight my case from home. And I fought my case for almost a year against the federal government. And my attorney told me that, he gave me statistics, and he says, "Hey, 98% of these cases that come through Benton wins. And your case isn't going to be any different. With the evidence that they have against you and your brothers for possession of marijuana with the intent of distribute in Southern Illinois from 1994 to 1999, we have a pretty good idea that if you go to court, you will lose and you will get more time than you can stomach." And I decided at that point that I was going to take a plea, and I proffered against myself. It is an opportunity for you to tell the federal government your part in a conspiracy without telling on anybody else, and get a favorable sentence from the judge. Get an opportunity to get a favorable sentence from the judge. The judge gave me 60 months. And I wound up having to go back into the system, this time into the federal system instead of the state of Illinois. And unfortunately, while I was I got news that my then 9-year-old son, Ray John, that his mother died in a tragic car accident. And I can remember the day that I had arrived in Oklahoma City. I had been shackled and I was in my orange jumpsuit, and the clergyman had asked to see me. And he had brought me into a room and he gave me the worst news of my life, that my 9-year-old son's mother had passed away. And I was so lucky that my wife was right there on the scene. I had always been a father to my son, and he had always been in my life. And by the grace of God, my wife and I had been married, and she stepped right in and a day didn't go by. She went right up and she did what black women in our community traditionally have to do. She became the breadwinner. She became the backbone of our family.
Didn't miss a beat.
She didn't miss a beat. She picked up the banner, and she was carrying a baby on her hip, and she was managing, helping my 9-year-old son pick up the pieces. And she stepped right in, and she's been mama, and she had been mama in his life, a second mother in his life, ever since he had been 1 year old. So, I'm just, that's my big boy there with the triangles on, standing in the front. Number one son. And it was very trying for all of us. But I'm so thankful that, that our family has been able to really go through all of that and come out better. That these situations didn't break us. Every time my sons, they look at me and they say, "Dad, you came home and you put the pieces back together." When I got out of prison, I had a great support system. Even when I came home from the feds, I was one of the only people that you probably know that endured dual sovereignty. Dual sovereignty is when the state tries you and the federal government tries you. They don't call it double jeopardy. They call it dual sovereignty when it fits their means.
Yeah.
So after I do dual sovereignty and I had come home, Burger King kept my job for me. And I was so thankful that when I got to the Marion Work Release Center, which was quite a distance from the Burger King, I walked to work every day. The day that I made it to the glass house in Marion, on the federal glass house, my job was waiting on me.
Wow.
My job was waiting on me. I went, I stepped right back into the shoe. I stepped back in the shoes as an assistant manager of the store, and they let me finish out my sentence, working at that glass house and working at that Burger King. I got in phase, and I've never been back. And that was in 2005 when I finally completed my time as a federal prisoner. And then I began supervised release. I only did 2 years of supervised release. I was released early because I met every benchmark. I had every requirement, and they needed to be able to cut people. And I was somebody that didn't bear watching. But my story doesn't stop there. Marijuana, like we said, that background and having to deal with those issues, it put me in a position where I then had to really acknowledge that, like Michael Jordan, when you say his name, you immediately invoke an image of basketball. That, unfortunately, this marijuana stigma was going to continue to follow me even after I had did my time, completed my parole, jumped through every hoop, come back home and put my family together. And one day in 2010, September 20th, 2010, I was shot 12 times. And it was right after I had clocked out after work. And it was reported in the newspaper that it was a possible marijuana deal gone wrong. But there was no marijuana on the scene, that nobody was arrested or charged for marijuana. But the idea was the public didn't need to think that this was a random act of violence. My past somehow was an indication that it was a possible marijuana deal gone wrong.
And it had nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with it.
We're talking about a random case of violence.
A random act of violence. A young man that was desperate. A young man that showed up with a bandana on his face. He had a hat on, and all I could see was his eyes. And when we went to trial, the prosecution they put on a wonderful case. They tried to get this man found guilty before a jury of his peers, but the state didn't reach the burden of proof. The defendant had an excellent attorney. The attorney presented the facts, and he said, Van IKNER said it happened in an instant. It happened that fast. How could he identify someone that he never met, and he only saw this much of? It happened that fast.
Yeah.
It happened that he got shot 12 times. 12 bullets. Do you really think Van was really focusing more on the AR-15 with extended clip that was sitting in front of him? Or do you think he was focusing on identifying the person with this much?
Come on, man. Come on, man.
So, but I really believe that this young man got a second lease. This young man got a second lease on life. We don't wrestle against flesh and blood. We wrestle against dark forces and dark places, man, from some spiritual aspect. It's not the person. It's something systemic that we wrestling against. Yes. That young man was desperate. There was desperation in him that day. There was anything that makes you pull a firearm on another human being and hold it in their face out of desperation. And when this young man was 5'9", 5'15", 5'10", he looked like one of my sons at that age. When I saw him, that's all I could see. I was like, wow, he the size of my number one son. I couldn't believe that this was happening. I just looked at him and I said, man, you don't have to do this. You know, when I got shot, Tone, I'm gonna tell you how God works. The day before I got shot, P.stock, I had a nosebleed. I had been in the city of Chicago.
Right.
And I had auditioned for this show called Time with Friends Cafe that was going to be featured on the UPN network that never came about. But we went and auditioned for, my twin brother and I went and auditioned as a possible host for the show. After that weekend, I had a bloody nose out of my left side of my nostril. That bloody nose had bled so bad and it had run out in the street that it was raining, and my other brother stepped outside and they said, man, it looked like somebody been shot out here. When we told my mother about the bloody nose, my mother said, oh, baby, you've been covered by the blood. The next day, I was shot 12 times all on the left side of my body.
Wow.
The doctor said I had a bullet that was lodged in between my heart and my lungs, and they couldn't explain it. They say it's like the bullet just lost its force. My shoulder, my hip, and my femur were destroyed, and I have a titanium rod for my femur, a click in my hip every step I take, and my range of motion will never be the same with my left as it is with my right anymore. You know, but I work as a professional mover. Come on, man. If y'all don't believe that we serve a mighty and an awesome and a powerful God, I don't know what else you need to hear. But I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna top that off. When my twin brother came to pick my car up after I had been shot, he turned the car on, and the music that came on with the CD I had in the radio, rolling like I'm bulletproof, bang, 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 loaded, cocky, let him shoot, was on the radio.
Wow.
When I got shot, I lost 4.5 pints of blood, and I never lost consciousness and never lost character.
Wow.
Man, but God.
That's nothing but.
God got you.
But God.
It's clear that you're here for a reason, man. You know what I mean?
You
are definitely being used as a vessel.
Yeah.
And you know, that's what I keep looking at instances in my life where I felt like God was moving me out of that position of being at Burger King. I actually felt like that was my pulpit.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it was my pulpit. I had come back home. I would have still been working there if I had never had gotten shot.
Yeah.
I probably would have been. I probably been walking around the corner up the street, BK at the BK, because I loved it. It fulfilled. It checked so many boxes for me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even then, I treated people kindly. I got the chance to engage with the public. I was able to meet other people's needs.
And you was moving up.
It made me feel like I was making a difference.
Yeah.
In 2008, when we had that big inland hurricane that came through Southern Illinois, it was Burger King that empowered me to be able to give free ice to the community and instruct people to go fill your washing machines with ice so that you can keep your food fresh. You know, it was that latitude that helped groom me and helped develop my professional demeanor and help me get back to a position of knowing what it's like to be able to feel like I don't need to look over my shoulder in order to provide a living for myself. But God was shifting me even from there. You know, I thank God for every move in our lives, because if I hadn't have been shot, I never would have started Curbside Restaurant. That was such a worthwhile venture because it allowed me to engage my community on an even larger platform. We then had 5,000 square feet worth of space. I became a business owner. My children got to watch me switch hats again. They got to say, man, Pops, you got up from them bullets. You came back from prison. It seemed like anything that you come up against, Pops, you just get back at it. You just focus on the now and the how.
That's a good representation.
That is a good representation
for family to see that you never gave up. You know what I mean? It's amazing, and you continue to do that, man. Your story is amazing, brother.
It is amazing.
What would you like? Cause this is not gonna be the last time we have you on the platform. You know, we gonna rag you all the way through. You know what I mean? We gonna ride it all the way through. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, I'm strapped in. We gonna ride. P in the car. We ride. We ride all the way through, man. You know what I'm saying? We gonna do what we need to do to help you solidify this position. You know what I mean? Because it's something that is amazing. What would you like to say?
To make some noise, man.
Yeah.
We gotta get us some representation.
Gotta have
tell our
representation.
stories. We gotta be transparent. We gotta tell people about the lessons we learned and the blessings that came from that, man. My relationship with my wife is stronger. I'm a better leader for my children now. I've had so many great accomplishments since I got out of prison. I just want people to understand it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish.
Yeah.
Come on. We got some worthwhile things to do. Don't be condemned by your past. Your past is no predictor of your future. You can pick yourself up from whatever situation you're in and you can turn it around. We coming from the bottom and we going all the way to the top.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Yeah. In that order. Man, you know, bro, we locked in, man.
We locked in.
You've had such an amazing story.
We got
man.
so much to talk about, man. I want to talk about what this election has been like. I want to talk about what it's like to run, what it means about the obstacles that we done had to overcome in order to get to this write-in candidate potential right now. Because the more we get in the know, the more empowered we all become.
Yes.
You know, like G.I. Joe used to say, knowing is half the battle.
That's a fact.
That's half.
Knowing is half the battle.
That's a fact. And we are definitely in the battle.
That's
and
right.
We're going to win the war. You know what I mean?
Lay the blueprint out. Lay the blueprint.
We got the blueprint,
all right.
man.
Hey.
We want to thank you for coming through, man. We're going to spin a block.
Yes, sir.
We're going to have you come back to address the culture. We're going to do it. We're going to do it a couple times, man. We're going to do a Q&A, have some of the people come in, ask you some questions, get a representation of how you feel and think in real time. We're going to tap in, man, brother. We are with you. You know what I mean? You sent over
I love it, man.
One of the T-shirts.
Come on now.
There it is.
P.stock, I'm sending you one from Illinois, baby.
All right. All right.
You one from Illinois.
I'll rock it. I'll rock it. For real.
All right.
We in here, man. And again, man, we want to thank you for coming through to address the culture, man.
Yes, sir.
Y'all see what it is, man. Van IKNER running for Illinois State Representative of the 118th District. Van of the people. Take this card with you to the primary election day, June 28th, 2022. Van IKNER. It's so easy. A van of the people. Tap in. Because we ride with them. You know what I'm saying? That's what type of time we on. And we're going to adjust the culture, brother.
Hey, I love y'all, man. I love y'all. It's a we thing, not a me thing, baby. It take all of us working together, baby.
That's
we
right.
gotta hold each other accountable, and we're going to get there.
That's right.
So what we're going to do, we're going to take us a little pause for the calls, pay a few more bills, you know what I mean? And me and P.stock going to close out, giving you some news you can use right here on Address the Culture. What's going on with you today? How you doing?
It's our first episode. And I got my drink ready to go.
You know what I mean? Jane don't know the man going crazy.
I'm just really proud of it. I'm getting a lot of good, great feedback.
So when I was in the group Dream, I was a teenager. We were surrounded by a lot of toxicity. So,
oh, hell. You don't have to explain as to why you didn't do or why you didn't do this or why you didn't do that.
And it was because of my husband standing there as my pillar of strength. That would be, the ultimate is to have my life back.
You already know the vibes. We are back. When we talk about powerful stories, man.
Van of the people. That was a powerful story.
Yeah,
I didn't expect that, but
yeah.
You know, so that's a complete person that can deliver from every aspect and viewpoint on life.
Yeah.
You know, from being on the sides of what it has. So, I mean, shout out to Van, you know, for everything he went through and how to parlay
and being transparent. You know what
transparent about it at all. I mean, nothing to hide. We ain't hiding, you know. He ain't hiding. He's coming straight forward, and he's for the people. He's for the people, the children, the future, you know, the direction. And that's needed. So, yeah, we with Van.
Yeah, all the way. You already know. Y'all heard from us. Now we want to hear from you. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know how you feel about Van. If you have a question you want to ask Van, we definitely going to have him on the platform again. We got a long journey. We're trying to get him in office, and we're trying to address the culture. So we're going to have him a few times on the platform where we're going to discuss different issues, different topics. We're going to make it a whole thing. You know how we do when we do our series and our segments. We dive all the way in. So keep it locked right here where you can see more of Van of the People and me and P.stock. So until next week, we're going to be locked in right here, same time on Address the Culture, powered by iHipHop TV. So I'm going to see you next week, man. It's your boy, Big Wall.
I'm your man, P.stock. We here.
This is Address the Culture. And like I always say, your culture makes you who you are, so make sure they respect it. We're going to catch you on the next election. We up out of here.
Yes, sir.
tuned in, man. We just getting started, man. We addressing the culture. Please pay me, but the hustle got me rich. This is my birth certificate to the rap game. I was in front of the store selling those too, you know, so but it was, you know, just like I said, coming from where I come from, people don't make it.
You made an appearance at the legendary Legacy 8. I know you feel safe as that.
Everywhere was Lethal Weapons.
Yeah. Everywhere. That was an international event, baby.
Global. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I passed the test. Lit up LA. Now everybody out there that respect me. You know, things happen on this grind of us trying to get further, but what don't break us make us stronger. So